Welcome to the Panza Panza Forum. In the Yoruba language, the word panza is usually injected into poetry to express an uncomfortable, uncensored, and inconvenient truth. The Panza Panza Forum is candid conversations about the life of African immigrants in America as it relates to their adaptation to their new home. While some may find it easy to integrate and can balance between retaining the original African culture while accepting the culture of their new home, many continue to struggle to find a balance between both worlds.
Hello and welcome to Panza Panza Live. This is a podcast where we discuss the lives of African immigrants and their assimilation into Western society as they raise younger generations in a country that is quite different from their own. We also explore the experiences of children of immigrants as they balance the African and Western cultures. We present to you this informative, interesting, and expansive dialogue about the intricate experiences of African immigrants in America.
Welcome to Panza Panza. I'm your host, Kemi Seriki. Today, I am so delighted to be having conversation with Mr. Luc Olinga, an award-winning business and economics writer, editor, investigative, multilingual journalist, and most importantly, a storyteller. Because in order for you to be a writer, you have to be a storyteller. So Mr. Luc Olinga is also a writer and a contributor on a Medium. For those of us those people who may not aware of Medium, Medium is a social publishing platform that attract writers from all over the world. So I follow Mr. Olinga on Medium, which means I regularly read his publications. So I recently came across an article that he wrote titled, "I Am Black Man, DEI is a New Racism." I couldn't resist because I read it. I said, no, I have to see if I can invite him to come and talk to me on Panza Panza podcast. So welcome to Panza Panza, Mr. Olinga. It's such a pleasure to have you on this platform. And I want to thank you for setting time aside this afternoon to be a guest on this platform to talk about this social issue on DEI. And I'm excited about the wealth of knowledge that you're about to share with our audience and member of African community in the diaspora and beyond. So for those who may want to know, and I always regularly ask my guests, can you fully introduce yourself? Talk a little bit about your background to our audience as to where you're born, where you spend most of your childhood and adult life.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Siriki, for having me.
I was born and raised in Cameroon. I moved to Paris when I was 18 to attend college. I became a French citizen, started working in France, and actually I came to the US. I was transferred here by my company, Agence France Presse, which is the world's third largest news wire. I was promoted as US business correspondent in New York. And after 6 years, they promoted me as economics, tech, and business editor in North America. So I moved to DC. And what happened is I moved to DC during the pandemic, where you have to supervise, journalists working across the country and being isolated. That was really tough. So I decided to leave FP in 2000, at the end of 2021, because I was approached by The Street, which is a business and tech, news platform, and they wanted me to reinvent the tech coverage and everything. So I did. I thought it was a challenge. So I went to The Street, and after 2 years, I decided to leave again and trying to focus more on storytelling. For maybe 2-3 years. I think I needed a break. I've been working for 18 years, doing journalism. I mean, classic journalism without really, taking a step back. And now I think I needed it. I needed to write other kind of stories. And maybe I will go back to doing what I used to do, a few years from now. That's it.
It's so wonderful that you could switch from one thing to the other easily like that, So that's the gift that some people will wish they have that kind of opportunity to switch from one thing to the other. And that's what you call multi-talented person. You could move here when you're bored here, you could go to another. So, Mr. Linga, there's an African saying that says, our root is what makes us who we are today. I read some of your publications and I admire the fact that Your writing begins with your experience growing up in Cameroon. What was your favorite childhood memory growing up in Cameroon? And what would you say you miss most?
I think I would miss, oh my God, so many stuff. But what I really what I really miss is the fact that we didn't think about tomorrow.
Hmm.
It was about the moment. As a child, I was very poor. I grew up very poor materialistically. I was not poor, when it came to the spirit or, the culture, the people, love. I mean, the love of the people, surrounding me, knowing that the neighbor is going to step in if I need them and everything. It was a village. It was really what we call a village. I know marketing people talk about a village now for anything, but that was really the village. It was, and that I miss because as much as, I love America, as much as I love Europe, I had a lot of everything. I mean, money from there, but you cannot compare to just being the moment and don't think about tomorrow, what's going to happen tomorrow. That's what I miss. I miss that so much. You cannot imagine.
And the
So,
sense of responsibility on the children. Your parents doesn't have to be there in order for you to be cared for. You
yeah,
are everybody's child,
yeah.
and that's everybody show you the love. They smile. How was school today? As you're walking from one end of the street to the other one, they're already greeting you.
Yes. Yeah, that was something. Yeah, I remember when I moved to Europe, the idea of seeing a kid who will call someone by their first name or their name. I didn't grow up like, I mean, I have to call every adult by papa or mama something
Mhm,
or
mhm,
auntie something.
mhm.
Ever by the single, oh my God, my mother she would have knocked me down. Like, what are you, you know,
And that's kind of how the society tends to put structure and responsibility that you as an adult, there's certain behavior they expect from an adult because you have to show example for younger generation. So that's the beauty of African culture that many of us miss growing up there. And many of our children don't even understand, so we have to start telling that story.
they don't. And sometimes it's tough to, I have my son, for example, it's tough when I try to explain to him some stuff. He barely look at me like, okay, okay. That is interesting.
From American lenses. So you obtained your university education in Paris. What was the experience like for you as an African student going to school in France and coming from Cameroon? How was it like navigating the culture, religion, and the race issue in that country?
It was really tough. I believe everyone who lived in France, I mean, back in the days, will say the same thing, because France has this, unlike the US, where at least you have the concept of race. In France, for a while, they didn't admit it. You were not
Mm,
supposed to say race. You
mm,
were not supposed to say. It was almost like one of those words that it was a dirty word. So you couldn't say race, you couldn't say this is based on race. So basically, you had to see yourself as a French person per se, even though everything was there to tell you that you were not French, meaning you were not white,
yeah.
because that's the way it was perceived. Being French meant being white. It was not just a citizenship like just a passport or an ID, it was the color of your skin. And so you have to shut up. You couldn't say, for a while, to be honest with you, it's my white friends at some point who pointed to me that I was going through racism. In some situation, they were like, do you know that this was because of your race? And I was like, oh, because you cannot even forget. Everything is meant to make you forget that. I mean, prejudice based on the color of your skin is what's taking place. And I believe many people like me who grew up in Europe, mostly in France, forgot about it. I mean, sometimes I would be alone. One of the few. I went to a very elite school, Sciences Po in Paris. At the time, it was all white, so you will end up seeing like 4, 5, 6 black person in the whole class. And we couldn't even talk. We were surrounded by white people, and it was intimidating, to be honest with you. Sometimes the teacher will ask a question you want to answer, but you couldn't answer because you were so afraid. You were not supposed to be there, and they were trying to do everything to make you understand that you were not at your place.
Mhm.
And it was tough. France is tough mostly when they don't admit that. But I mean, today you have vocal. I mean, young Black people are more vocal.
Yeah.
And I believe social media, I mean, people can say whatever they want about it. I believe the fact that everyone is interconnected now, I mean, in real time, make you understand when something is wrong. And I believe that's a good part. That because today you go to France, I mean, Black people are, they speak about it, they speak up, they stand, they stand up. They're like, this is about race. So that kind of stuff.
And they can't take it because French, colonizing Africa. Like I always tell people, I said there are more French-speaking people in Africa than the whole Europe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Put all African countries together. I mean, all the some in West Africa. You can go from Ivory Coast to Burkina Faso to Mali to Cameroon. Gabon, you put all of Chad, you put all of them together. What do you have? You have France, you have some part of Switzerland, Belgium. What else do you have speaking French? I believe that's almost it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and imagine that now, you have more people. That was the whole thing about, oh, we have to apologize. African country have to apologize. Oh no, African country has been doing everything to keep the French language alive.
Yeah.
Some way you should be thank African country because they are the one, keeping the French language alive.
Yeah. The same thing with British, whereby in Nigeria and many other countries in Africa that the national language is English, and even though the local, our own dialect is called vernacular, every textbook is written in English. So in France, so you came to United States, right? And how did you become so eloquent in English speaking?
Because as you know, Cameroon and Nigeria are close. Like
Yeah.
you guys in Nigeria, we didn't have the British everywhere. We had the British, after the First World War because we were a German colony, and then when Germany lost the war, so the French and the English, who the winners of the First World War, came. They decided to divide, German asset between them. So Cameroon was a German asset. You see, we were a German asset. But France took the lion share, like almost 80% of the country. And then the UK took, 20% of the country. And that 20% is close to Nigeria, the Southwest and the Northwest is really, the borders with Nigeria. Bakassi and everything there is right there. So that's why, so the official languages, like in Nigeria, English, and then French. And living in the French part of the country, so I was speaking French. And the worst about it is we all come to the main city, and because we come from several tribes, we were all speaking French, which is kind of like how French became almost the language, linking us. It was unbelievable to think about it. Yeah, how is it in Nigeria? I mean, why not? I mean, I would have expected Nigeria to be at least stronger than Cameroon when it comes to that.
But in terms of that, when they carved, if you look at map of Africa before Berlin conference that they had in carving Africa for different positions. So part of Ghana and Togo, they are the same people. But the French took one part and British took the other one. So that's why Togo speak French, Ghana speak English. And the same thing with Nigeria. So they bring all these different ethnic groups together who have their own kingdom or empire or their own community, and they speak their language. Even before British came or all these people, for you now, I believe at least you speak 3 languages. At least I know, at least. Because you speak French, you speak English, and you speak the traditional dialect. And at that time, people used to speak so many different dialects because they trade among each other. But when the British came, they input all this, the language, and carve everybody and say, you now become a country. That's why, I don't know, in Cameroon, they might have some Yoruba people there.
Yes, you do. You have some Yoruba. I think you even have some, Igbo people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have different. Yeah.
And I'm talking about since Cameroon was established by the colonial ruling power. And the same thing, people in Niger, they are Hausas. They carved that.
Hausas in Cameroon.
They carved that. into the northern Nigeria and they speak French. So that's why the European language is what controls that continent. And there has to be a better way of analyzing this and doing what we have to do. One thing we did is to break down, like in Nigeria, we speak pidgin English, you know.
But you have pidgin English in Cameroon too, because Nigerian exported it to Cameroon. So many Cameroonians speak pidgin.
So why I understand. What would you say it's the most difficult staying in a country like France and going to school in a place where only few of you are blacks in the classroom, trying to navigate through that, and still yet you still do what you are to do? Do you think your African background has something to do with how you're able to face that challenge and just focus on your goals?
I do believe, I believe so. And even more so when I moved to the US, because I believe when I grew up in Africa, I never thought of myself as inferior to anyone. Yes, some people had money, I was poor, but it wasn't, and it never, it was just that they had money, they had more, but it was never that they were superior to me as a human being. I had that, and I believe that's so powerful. People they don't understand how powerful it is for someone to grow up knowing that they are just fine and that they are as good as anyone, and that is not because you're lighter skin or you're fair skin, as they say here, or like that. No, I never even saw it that way. So France, then having someone telling me they were better than me, I was like, I don't believe you're smarter than me. I'm sorry. If I decide to put my mind into this, I don't believe you will be better than me.
Yeah.
I don't believe in class. We have the same classes. I believe if they test us and they're fair, I don't believe you're going to be better than me. So based on that, how could you assert that because of the color of your skin? No, the color of your skin give you advantages. It gives you, a leg up, but it doesn't make you superior to me. And I believe that comes from Africa, where I grew up in a system where most people around me were black, and I saw black excellence. You can also see in Africa you have everything. I mean, I had anything in my neighborhood. So that's the way I believe it helped me really navigate it and really assert myself as a human being. I mean, you put me down and call me monkey, okay, excuse me, this is not the first time I'm going to hear someone calling me monkey. So
Yeah.
I would just brush it away because I knew who I was and where I was coming from. I believe Africa, that's really, really, really everything to me. It saved me. I never saw myself as inferior to anyone, ever.
And that's so powerful what you just said, which I always preach to many younger generation, even many people who experience racism or discrimination, because when you know who you are, nobody have that right. They might think they have the right. They might think they're going to put you down, but who you are on the inside, because you know who you are, you know yourself. And nobody can crack that down. Like I always tell someone, the Yoruba have a tradition when a child, which we call Oriki. Oriki is like a poem that is passed down from generation to generation. Your grandmother, they praising you with this poem every morning that they call your ancestors from generation to generation of their achievement. And they sing it to you almost every morning. Who is it to come to you and tell you you are nobody? But when you walk into a place, your presence, your spirit command the whole place, because the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself, people will know, will feel your presence. And that's something that many people cannot understand.
I agree with you. When I started working at the AFP, again, I was one of the very few. AFP had a lot of black people of color working for them, but outside of France, and they didn't have the same status. I fought for that too. That was on my father at the AFP. These people were, in Africa, in Gabon, everywhere, or in Asia, they would be paid penny compared to us living in Paris. And I was like, okay, you do that. So it was one of my five. Anyway, let me come back to what you just said. Remember when I arrived at the AFP, I was one of those few black people. And because I really never thought of myself as inferior to anyone. I understood later that they were calling me arrogant just because I didn't feel inferior. When I made friends there, they would tell me, they call you, you're so arrogant, you're full of yourself. I'm like, it's another way because I didn't let them put me down. So I was arrogant. People who know me, they will laugh when they hear that someone calling me. So you see, that's another way. Every time one has a black person, and I believe many people listening to it, they can relate to that.
Yeah.
When you don't let them put you down, you are arrogant. You are, oh my God, you're full of yourself. Just because I don't believe you are superior to me, I never said I'm superior to you, but I don't think you are superior to me. We are equal.
Yeah. But it's they created a box of how they put people, and they put everybody in a box of where you belong. And this is what they expect. That's as a black person, not even to talk about an African coming in, walking in with confidence. And it's something that they cannot just comprehend that, who are you? And you will find many minority who will tell you that too.
Oh yes,
Who are non-African.
I'm pretty sure you know something. Some thought I was the son of a president just because I was okay with myself. I knew who I was and who I am. So why do I need to have a complex? I mean, I have other issues, but not that one. It has nothing to do with the color of my skin. That no, ever. It will never happen.
Yeah.
And you see, so they was why is it not? Why is it like this? So it bothered them a lot. Those they trying to figure out because they thought I was lying that I was coming from a poor family. Because my parents are just small people. Look, they just don't just where I was raised. It's the village. The village raised me like that.
Yeah. Yes. So as a French journalist based in New York City, and you are one of the award-winning multi-language journalists. What would you say surprised you mostly about America since when you came into this country, and what do you think you would say you appreciate mostly about this country?
It's kind of strange because it's gonna go along with what we are supposed to be talking about DEI. Oh, the opposite. Because in some way, America give you more chances. At the same time, there are more layers to that. But overall, compared to Europe, it gives you more chances. And that's something I really like about this country. And never negativity when it comes to any project, anything you want to do. People will always try to push you, and you have that nudge from people all the time. Yes,
Yeah.
do it. This is something I really like because sometimes you can be down, and mostly people like us, we are so far away from where we were where we were born or where our ancestor are, and we are here sometimes alone, and having people who would always say, "Oh, go! Oh, that's great. That's a good idea. Do it, do it." I like that about this country. I like that because America is like that optimism. Even if you're not gonna succeed, but at least they want you to believe in you and believe in what you want to do. That's what I like about this country.
And like you said, there's a lot of support as long as they see that you're willing to do it. And you will always see somebody who will give you a push, and they will give you ideas. They will say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? That is one great thing about America. And it's a place, if you put your effort in,
Yes.
you will achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, I agree. You will achieve. Of course, you're gonna have some obstacles, here and there, but compared to Europe, even compared to Africa, where sometimes you have to go and try to bribe people and everything. And yeah, people are really, I mean, that nudge, that encouragement, I think it's everything. It's everything. Most is for people who doubt themselves. And sometimes we all doubt ourselves. We doubt ourselves. And it's good to have someone who sometimes you don't even know them. In New York, for example, you don't know people. You go to a cafe, people start talking to you. And they talk about everything and they will start, you don't even know them. And it's really good. I like that energy. That's something I really, really cherish here.
Yeah. That's the culture of New York. That's why I can't leave New York City.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Olinga, as I said earlier, I followed you on Medium, and I recently came across an article that you wrote titled, I'm a Black Man, DEI is the New Racism. I couldn't resist not inviting you to Pansa Pansa to further talk about this subject. So, and like I said, I really want to thank you for coming, So, to start in understanding the parallel of the article, in your experience, and for many African immigrants, understanding how does the way people in your childhood view government corruption in Cameroon compared to how some people in US view DEI. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, yes, I understand because it's almost the same in a way. Because corruption is about you have only the same people doing holding everything. They have power, they share among themselves, and if you want to come in, either or you have to pay, bribe, and even paying you have to know the right person to pay to bribe, for you to get in. And now in with the DI is a little bit different. The problem with DI, why I call it the new racism, because people are linking DI to being black. Like it's a way to give black something they don't deserve, black people something they don't deserve, which it has its first is for the first thing with DI was to try to give people, to help everyone to have an interview. Just meaning that we will take our African example. Uh, instead of bribing someone to come in, Nadia is giving you an opportunity to come in, to be in the room. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it, but at least it's giving you the opportunity to be in the room, meaning to get an interview. Something that if you're not part of that little clique, like in Africa, a few control everything, is the same. It's the people here with you when you're in America, you have the same. They went to the same school, they know each other, they go to the same clubs. So of course, it's natural, it's only human that if they see a job position, they will, oh my God, I know. Oh, let me call David. Oh, David, I have this. Do you know? Are you looking for something or do you know someone? Of course, it makes sense because that's your network. But now what Dia is doing is like, yes, trying to open it a little bit and get some people here who usually don't get it. All it's about. It doesn't take away any meritocracy thing like they're saying. Could I ask my mom to do what you're doing right now?
No.
So how might because it's a black person, so it's a job. Let's say the job is about being running an hotel. So you're just gonna get any black person to come in. You're gonna handle them the job. Any black because you see that's the whole thing, and it's not even the worst about it is that they're making it a black thing, whereas the data show that white women are the one who took the most, advantage of DEI. Don't Not black people, but because it's like the same thing has been our color. Everything linked to black people is always negative. Oh, it's going to be a black day. you know, everything that's negative is black. If you look at the language, so it's the same thing with DEI. Oh, it's negative, so they link it to black. Because it's easy to say black, but how many black people? Some of them don't even know what DEI is. I've been traveling this country. They've heard it on TV because they're talking about it, but they don't even know what it is. You see, that's the issue I have. And that's what I'm frustrated when I see black people on TV going and trying to defend DEI. I'm like, it's a trap. It looks basically, if you defend it, that means that it was for us, which is not true. The data is showing that it was white women took advantage of it more than any other minority group, black, Latinos, and everything. Again, I'm saying to you, I've been traveling this country for more than a year and a half. Black people don't even know DEI. They don't even know what it is.
And it's so true what you said. For those who may not know, that DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like you said, you just want to have somebody to be interviewed and come into the club, to the job environment, whereby they might not even be able to contribute too much. They might not be able to perform very well, even though they might be given the opportunity because their educational background has not prepared them for that for that environment. So it's a lot to actually look into that. So in terms of weaponization of DEI, how has DEI, which is meant to promote inclusion and fairness, has been turned into negative terms? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is the people, the advocate of DEI. I think the first, which for people don't know in the US, because you have that, the cultural war between what people would call the progressive left and the far right or the conservative right, meaning they're trying to assert their values and they want everyone to do as they see fit. The problem with is that, not a problem. I mean, a few years back, at some point, the progressive left, took over with the thing where, it came with the Me Too movement, like let's change everything from the past and let adapt it to a new generation. DI came from that, the woke thing and everything. It helped with the fact that at some point you have, Obama was there, and then suddenly was Trump, and people didn't like anything about Trump. And then it was a pandemic, and then it was Biden. So mostly the pandemic, because everyone is at home, so people talk, they spend their time online, and it became like we all lived online back then for 4 years. So I believe that did not help. And the problem then became, the idea is good, getting everyone to have, an interview, everyone, give everyone a chance. If they cannot, they're not qualified, they're not going to get it. That's what it's only about. Give everyone a chance. If I apply for a job that I believe I'm qualified to, and my qualifications show I can do it, I can perform the job, why not give me a chance for an interview? It doesn't mean I'm going to go to the second round, but at least an interview. And I believe that was good. The problem with DI, why it became like you have a frustration at some point because uh, there was so much intolerance. It was not just about DI, it was about the other side of the whole DI, which is being woke. If I was, yes, that's it. That is the issue. It's not even DI the issue, it's the woke thing, the issue.
It's the work.
It was about that intolerance, like, if I disagree with you, I become your enemy. It become the oppressor against the oppressees, me versus them. If you don't call someone by their preferred pronouns, that means you have an issue. You see, that's the problem. That intolerance make people start to push back. And so you have the other side where some people suddenly, when things are not going well, they tend to look for someone, a culprit. And what was the culprit? It was woke. If you do remember, it was woke. But the problem with woke is that at some point, you couldn't attach it to anything, mostly to make white America to understand, because woke became liberal, but liberal is a classic war between the left and the right. So woke is not, they try it. If you can go back the past film, it was woke, but woke didn't work. And suddenly the catch, the buzzword DI, they started testing DI. And the fact that they attach it to the color of the skin, country in a very, race is everything in this country. When they attach it to the color of the skin, white people start to be, oh, if I don't have a job, so is the black. Of course, the instant, it's an instant of racism of this country. You just need to press the button and then it comes back up. They press it. And instead of what was, it was too complicated for people, so it didn't stick. DI, because it was attached to the color of the skin, to the wounds of this country, the original sin. So that worked. So DI worked, even though data again show that black people didn't take advantage of it. It was white woman. But no one cares. No one cares. I'm challenging you. Go talk to your neighbor and ask them, your what neighbor, talk to them about what is they're going to say is about black people.
But because when I became aware of DEI, my children were still young, and it was within their school, because they went to school where it was a few blacks who were in that school. So they started diversity committee among the parents, among the students. So when I go to those meetings, those were years ago that I learned about DEI, and then it extend later on to a job environment where everybody is now a expertise in doing DEI training. Every year you have to do DEI training, and some is even optional in some job environment whereby just go for. And some of these people, what they are saying too is mostly based on color of the skin and the gender identity. And I think, it was creating so much misinformation, so much misconception, and people then turn everything around. And then work also, like you said, took over.
Well, took over. I believe that's a big mistake because that intolerant, because the whole thing, if you look at it, is designed well, is to at least society to admit that in the context, it's all about the context. If people say to you that the way a person of color or a woman is treated in the work environment is not different from a white person, a white male in this country, then they don't really want to look, they don't want to face reality. They really don't want to face reality. If we don't want to admit that in many circumstances, you're going to have a different treatment for people of color and women in the workplace, then I really believe we don't want to accept reality. And because that's the reality. The thing was not to correct it. It was just to say, how do we move forward as a society for a society that's fair to everyone? And they come up with this thing, the programs, and I believe the way they did first, they didn't know how to explain it. I think they really explained it very bad. That's the work thing. You have to accept it. They push that on people. They force it instead of like telling people. I believe you have to educate people. You have, my son, myself, I went through that with my son in terms of the work thing. When one day you have a kid, and the following day the kid is telling you that, have you asked for my pronouns? You're like, okay, when did you change your gender? I mean, no, it was not, my son didn't change the gender. He didn't even he wanted me to say, do you want me to continue to address you by he or his? Okay, last time I checked, you were a minor. If something happened, if someone would have called me because they needed my approval. You see, even that, and telling my son, I don't understand what happened. And suddenly I was, a bigot. Even for my own, you see that intolerance. Instead of my son saying to me, our generation, we have different kind of values. I want to believe, it's better for someone because some people want. No, it was boom, boom, and you have to do it. You have to do it. It was the same thing with DI. You have to do the company have to do it. Everyone is doing. We have DI program, but what are you doing? As you said, they will force people to. You have to do this training. I believe that had it taken the time, I think it would have been implemented well. Now it's linked to race. It's sad. It's very sad.
It is, and you said it so well. It's beyond just we talk about issue of race, because like we've been saying, DEI is just a new thing that is coined, and they took it from their hand, because the people who are actually doing a lot of all this training, or they call themselves experts in DEI, they're actually thinking they're saying something. And one thing you have to realize, when you're dealing with people that you want to actually change, they are 60% of the society. You are just 20, 30 something, and you coming in, okay, to actually change things around and say, this is how I want you 60% to think now. This is how I want you to work. Of course, they're going to, go out of hand.
Definitely, and mostly look at this country. I really believe it's a big problem, even mostly when it comes to liberal, and I will say it will come to white liberals or some people of community who have a platform. They keep trying to act like Obama never happened. And that's what they don't understand. For many people, they saw a black president. For white people, put yourself in their shoes. They're going to tell you, we voted twice for a black president. How come can you say we're racist? So you see, that's a big issue. You cannot just go, yes, racism is right there, but you have to find a way you have to get people on board.
Yeah.
Don't push them away because they will tell you Obama happened. twice, not just once. It happened twice, 2 times. So how do you explain to these people that they're racist? Those people cannot believe you. So I believe, you see, that's the many things. Racism is there, but how do we have to educate people? I know people are going to say, oh, we have to educate people all the time. I'm like, yes, you do. You're a parent, I'm a parent. Any parent knows that. Your kids, even when they're 30, even at my age, I usually call my mom who's still alive. Oh, mom, how do you do this kind of stuff? Oh, can you add me some knowledge? Oh, mom, please, I need this knowledge. Your kids are always, they will always remember, in front of your parent, you are always that kid. You will always seek for you want them to provide you some knowledge all the time. So education, it has to take, you will still have, because the world is, we're doing the same thing. The genocide, everything is the same, is all over, it's like a loop. So why do we have to stop educating people? I think we have to continue to educate people. I believe that was a big mistake. That was a big mistake.
And that's why, if you look at it, some people don't even now. There's accusation of being DEI hire are mostly exclusively targeted to people of color who are much more qualified for the position, or women in general, because you have to think about that as well.
That's the thing. You see, that's the problem. And that's why I said it was a new racism. So instead of someone saying to you, you get a job because you're black, they say that you get a job because your idea higher, which is racism. Is them calling you black or nigger without saying it. They're calling you the N word, clearly, but you cannot say they're calling you the N word because they say DEI. You see, it's someone who is sexist. Instead of saying bloody woman, now he's saying, oh, you're a DI higher. And that's more, it prevents them from being, accused of this. And they would just say, oh, I'm just saying something. All these people who are racist, who are sexist, is giving them, a cover.
Yeah.
And it's easy. And look at today. No one is calling you the N word anymore. They will call you DI.
Yeah. And and even the people coming through excellency because of their educational background, because they are professional in what they do. And that's why they are in the position of, I've heard many blacks they are scientists. They wouldn't want you to call them black. They rather for you to address them first according to their name, who happen to be black. I've heard of it many times. I am an engineer who happen to be black. I'm this and that who happen to be black, because the black identity is not what they want you to look at first, but to look at their profession. Then you now turn it around and say, now you are DEA.
Because it's the same thing, it's the same playbook. Because you're not gonna say when you say white man, you're not gonna say, oh, you're white. You're gonna know, well, your colleague, you're not gonna say, oh, you're white. You're gonna just say, oh my god, you do a great job. Oh, our manager is this. But when it comes to a black person, we say, at a managerial position, people are going to say, oh, the black, do you know the black thing? In some way, they're always diminishing, your qualification, because that's the whole playbook. They insinuate that you got it because you were black, you're not qualified enough. But you will never hear that when it comes from mostly a white male, because that's the way it is, and we buy all into it. That's what I don't understand today, why you will even have black people with platform defending DI, because at the end of the day, first it was not for us, but now that it's backfiring, everyone is saying it's for black people. Why are we there to defend it? I don't even understand. We didn't take advantage of it. If for basically for white women, they took advantage of it. Why do we have to defend it? I don't believe we should be defending it, because at the end of the day, Keep is giving cover to everyone who used to call us by the N word. Now they have another word where they can, there is nothing you're gonna do against it, because you don't have, there is no law. The only good thing I believe with that was also good with one of the things that was good with DI was it gave us a legal protection. Like if you apply for a position of some company like 10, 20 times at some, or you apply for, then you can, at some point you're like, okay, I never even, get an interview. Something is wrong. Yeah, you have a pattern. You use the pattern and then you go, okay, you guys are saying you have this, but look at the pattern. But now we've been stripped of that. We don't have that anymore. You don't have that legal thing that you could have used to complain. That was one of the good stuff for us, that we could have used that to say, okay, but now we don't have it anymore.
I remember I was listening to an interview that was done on Neil deGrasse, and he said, he was explaining something about space to somebody. In terms of his own scientific research, is mostly about, space and NASA and all that stuff. And he said this woman was just talking to him, and she never mentioned anything about Black scientists. He just called him by his name, Dr. Tyson. This is what we're talking about. And he explained everything to this person. He said he appreciated it so much because he didn't address him as a Black scientist. Rather,
Yes,
he called him by his profession.
Yes, I believe it's good, but my pushback with that is, in some way, some Black people like us who refuse the DI hire. Me, I don't, in a way, because again, we go back to the beginning of this conversation. I know the conversation. I know who I am. I know exactly that the way I work, not many people would do it that way. So, but I also know that because of the color of my skin, living in a Western world, in some way, it would be an obstacle for me to get some stuff. But if society allow me to be able to explain to people, to show people what I can do, I don't believe it's a big problem, because if I cannot get in the room, yes, you will always have Black excellence. Some will always, regardless what you do, will always perform better. They will always get there, like Tyson, the grace. But at the same time, not everyone is him, and most people are not him. So at some point, for these people to have the opportunity, you need things that will help them. You have affirmative action back. You need program that will help people at least to show what they can do. I don't believe. Again, I believe the was the wrong answer, but I believe in what was behind it. I always think that some people, they don't know. For example, I remember when you go to college, some kids don't even know that the interview how you works. So because their parents have never been there, and you have a lot of that in our community and in the Latino communities. But white people, because their parents has already been there, so they got people to explain that, oh, if they have money, they will pay for people, some coaches and everything to train them. We don't have that. So basically, a kid will arrive, they are competent, they're knowledgeable, but because they don't know how to, or what to answer, what kind of question to expect, they will fail. Whereas if you have a structure, a program that will, like, okay, some of these kids, they don't, there is another way we have to recruit them, I believe is good.
Yeah.
I really believe there are cons. I believe we have to work, we have to come in the middle.
Yeah.
We not just, counseling DEI for, totally, I don't believe that's the answer. I believe we have to in the middle. How do we build a program that will work for everyone?
Everybody, yeah. Which, you could find, to me, in this country, is all about class and social economic status. Is very important to acknowledge that, and the level of education people have. So to me, it's much more of social economic status, that defines so many things in this country, and all over the world. That's where you refer back also to Cameroon as well, in different part of the world. So I would like us to explore DEI and educational inequality. I think I kind of spoke about that a little bit. So to me, and to many who may believe that to tackle inequality, we have to guarantee all access to quality education, right? Resources and opportunity, okay? So the root of the issue to me is inequality in education. So what are your thoughts about this? How do historical inequality in education still impact students today? And does DEI actually tackle this root of inequality in educational system?
No, I know that we can start with that. I don't believe it does, because at the end of the day, DEI will always, that's, I believe that's something people forget. At the end of the day, DEI always is about the only people who will be invited to interview are qualified Black women and Black men, or Latino women and Latino men, or qualified white women. Is not the unqualified people who will be invited. You send your resume, they try to see if you fit, and then they invite you. So in some way, DEI doesn't it doesn't at all. It doesn't even address inequality. The only thing it does address, it addresses the fact that people are coming from different backgrounds and that your social class can be an obstacle for you to prove yourself or to get some, to open some doors. And DEI will help you open those doors. That's the only thing. If you go back to education, then I believe in this country, what you have at some point was affirmative action. That was a little bit better in terms of how do you address education when it comes to helping impoverish, population and marginalized population to get access to a better education, because you could get to Harvard, you get to all the Ivy League school, regardless of where you were coming from, because of those programs. So yes, how do we do that? How do we do that? I believe it's really tough. I believe, yes, it's education. But today, how do you still have that class divide when it comes to education? Because I take a city like New York, where you and I live. In some neighborhood, you have great schools. In other neighborhood, the good teacher don't want to go there. No one want to go there. So at the end of the day, you end up having unmotivated teachers. You have kids, they really felt abandoned and they are there because sometimes the parents are asking them to go there, they push him to go there, no one cares. Again, if I go back to Africa, I remember back then school was almost free. And in school, everything was almost like public, like 90% of school were public schools. Only 10 were like private school back then. Regardless of the school I went to, I was confronted from people from different kind of background. And in terms of excellence, some were brilliant, some were okay, some were there. It was good to be confronted, to excellence. Now in some neighborhoods in this country, you don't have that. So you need someone to push you. We were talking about being encouraged. You don't have that, in schools, in some neighborhoods. And so that's what I agree with you. I believe it has to go there. But how do we do it? That's what I am pessimistic.
That's so true, because I was working with a lot of youth. That was my previous job before I retired. I work with a lot of kids who get involved in criminal justice system, got arrested, and you find out you have a ninth grader who is reading on third grade level. You have many of these children who suffer from dyslexia. They have IEP. IEP is like educational evaluation system that United States have to find out children who have learning differences. I don't call it learning disability, learning differences, whereby they need extra help.
Mhm.
But when you go to many of these schools, they don't have it. I don't know even whether it's true or not, which it was later on that I actually find out that it may be true that many minority children, Black students, if they have dyslexia, they don't put that in their IEP, because they said they associate it with, their ancestors who have went through slavery. So as a result, we don't want to put that word into their IEP of dyslexia, because we just know that they just need extra help. But if you diagnose them with that dyslexia, that means you have to provide the services for that.
True.
Instead of just saying they have reading difficulties.
True. Which require more for society. It requires, as you said, you have to provide, you have to respond, you have to address it.
You have to address it. And there's a limited number of funding that comes to this neighborhood compared to neighborhood that is well educated. They have all the background information, because let's face it, no government wants to provide for anybody.
No.
Whether you're Black, white, yellow, pink, but the people force it. And they make sure that we're not going to vote for you. We're demanding this in our neighborhood, we're demanding that. But when you're talking about the people who may not have those kind of knowledge about things. So to me, with this DEI, if you really want to, because I've read a couple of books, part of it is Thomas Sowell, or many also African Americans who actually did research and they wrote books on this, well-documented book. If you want a Black child to be successful in Harvard, then Harvard should start a school from kindergarten in Black neighborhood, in minority neighborhood, so that when they get to Harvard, they will be able to compete with their mates.
That's true. That's true. It's basically the only issue is then Harvard will tell you, oh, that's not my mission. And they might be right because then, but at the same time, then they have to define what their mission is in a new world. I believe it then it becomes, it's just that the school will have to reinvent themselves, basically. Because if you decide that you acknowledge that maybe your job is for you, not just to, because you attract the best worldwide, to just sit and wait for the best to come to you and then you pick. You can say, okay, maybe I should also go to people and trying to find and get them ready to come to me. That would be another way of thinking. I believe it's a great way of thinking. The question is, would that be possible? Because don't forget that at the end of the day, all of these schools also is also about money. They invest. They have all those endowments. They invest. They have money. They have trustees, board of trustees, and everything. Is people would say your job is not to be. It's not. You're not a social worker. So I don't know how that's gonna play out, but but I believe I agree with you. I believe it's a way, you invest long term. You invest long term and then you really believe in it and you make it happen. And we did something like that. I remember when I was at AFP, it's something I pushed for. I was really like with the CEO to tell them because there were almost no black person, no black people at AFP when I arrived in Paris. You have people outside of the France. But I said it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. How come we have in the suburb of this country, we have a lot of black people, we have a lot of Arabic people? How is that possible? Oh, the response was, oh, they never come to us. Oh, which meant they are not qualified because also it's always you have to read through the it's that's very French. So it meant clearly they were not qualified, they cannot do this job. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Yes, they might not be qualified, but does it mean that we have to give up? Maybe we have to do the training.
Yeah.
Maybe we are the one we have to do the training. We have to find the resources. And I do believe we have resources. We have a company where some journalists, you have a few positions, and not everyone has the big position. So some people can dedicate themselves training people. That should be part of our legacy. And the CEO he said to me, oh, I hear what you're saying because I wrote a whole good thing. He's like, yes, but how do you do it? He said, okay, take a month. I said, give me a month. He said, okay, I'll give you a month and bring me something, a solution, practical solution. And I wanted it to be practical. I went, I spent my time in the suburbs, working with educators, working with non-profit, and trying to say to them, I don't want any. Let's find a practical thing. How do we do this? I don't want them to find an excuse. Again, let's find it. So what we came up with was that we can work with kids, when they are in their 50, they're 15, 16, and try to see if they're interested in going into media, and then starting and providing them with mentor. And then we can partner with schools, in the neighborhood, in the suburbs, where they can, school they can attend. We can create, a section for them to, everyone want to go to media. And that section, we have journalists coming from AFP like myself and going there and train them, work with them, spend time with them, there and being mentors. And then when they graduate, they can come and they spend, we want them to come to AFP as well. They can spend like a week here and a week during, the summer and come and see and take part of it. And we build that program. And we went to the CEO and say, this is a program. It's been approved by social workers, educators, and we believe we can work with that. We can fund these young people. I really is going to be. He's like, oh, really? I'm like, yes. So I had a meeting to bring all the social worker, I talk with, and they explained to him. He said yes. It took him like 2-3 months, and he decided to go with it. And he's been working, and you can see you have more people from the North Africa, people from the black folks and everyone now working at AFP. But it's been only like what 5-6 years. It took time to convince, but I believe it depends on how all those Harvard, what do you really believe in that mission?
Yeah, in their mission. So should the people who focus on DEI initiative, more direct reform should be in public school education? Do you think so? Do you think DEI will be more effective in that aspect if we focus on educational system? I mean, young age.
You go to the neighborhood and you do that. I mean, it doesn't make sense when you go to America. And then I was in Auckland a few days ago, and I talked with this kid. They were in a circle, and someone is 13. They have already killed 2, 3 people. Is that normal? I mean, I know people in this country will say everyone is responsible, but how come a 13 years old is responsible? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. That should alarm anyone that someone who is 13 has already killed 2 to 3. That person should be at school. They should be thinking maybe they're like a different kind of school. They can just they want to be a designer. They want to. I mean, you can whatever we can find a way. It doesn't make any sense for that person, to have killed 3 people already. That means that society has failed, regardless how we see it. So yes, maybe those resources should go there. Maybe we really want to tackle, we should go there. But the question is, that means that we also have to get out of victimhood. Is that possible in America to get out of victimhood? I don't know.
And that is so important what you just said, because when we're coming from Africa, whereby whatever you do is your problem, we know we have a corrupt government. So, it's something that we've been dealing with from the time of we took our power from colonized power, and our people were the one in power. So everything is on you. It's either you do it or you don't do it. You will see a mother, mostly women are the one raising the children in different parts of Africa. She's selling groundnut on the roadside, but putting every penny on that child's education to make sure that child do very well. Because you have nobody to blame except yourself.
Definitely. And you were asking again the strength. Where did I find the strength to navigate the whole thing in France? I believe it just came from that. Is that we almost every African I know has lived in a country with a corrupt government. We don't know what is welfare. We don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Anyway, my experience, I don't know. I knew what welfare was when I moved to France. I didn't know that in Africa. The government will never give you anything. I don't even know if you know what it is. The only thing I would say the government gave me as a kid was that school was not expensive. The only way, so my parents were able to afford to send me to school. I didn't have any furniture, but at least I had opportunity to go to school.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the only thing I will always thank my country for, that I was able to go to school. But everything else, yes, I believe that's the strength of African, is that we don't, what we call it, it's you. Even today in Africa, most it's people are doing they're doing everything they can. It's something we have. I don't know how you do it in the West, how you do it in America, in a system where you say, racism has been the original sin. I don't know. Or slavery, regardless of how you call it, has been the original sin. I don't know. Then sometimes, again, you and I, we grew up in countries where everyone told us that we were good, we were great. No one ever told us that we were inferior to someone because of the color of the skin. In this country, I believe it's different. That's where I tend sometimes, I don't know how you do it. That's what I'm saying. For example, we in Africa, we talk about colonization, but we don't, in some way, it looks like we've moved from it.
Mm-hmm.
In America, I don't know if slavery and the civil rights, I believe slavery and the civil rights movement go hand in hand. So I don't know. I don't know how. It's something I cannot respond to that because I'm not African American. I don't know, to Mrs. Siriki, I don't know how to respond to that one because
even with that, even during the civil rights movement, during the time after slavery, Jim Crow, you still have a lot of blacks who are successful.
yes,
Were scientists. They business, they had, name it, and there was no DEI.
Yes, I agree. But look, go back as well. Every time black people try to be successful, it was destroyed by white people.
Mm-hmm.
Tulsa is there,
Yeah.
So the Black Wall Street is there. Every time black people try to succeed, they were put down. everything was destroyed. They have to start over again. If you look at all the measures in this country, like redlining, where you couldn't, black couldn't, they couldn't buy a home, they couldn't get loans. That's why black are behind as well. Is that they didn't have access to everything white people were. White people got loans and everything. I believe that's a big problem in this country as well.
Yes.
People tend to forget that black people didn't have access to loans
Yeah.
for a while, and that, of course, that's hold them. It held them back. It held them back because if you cannot do anything, you need money to invest or to do anything.
Yeah.
If you cannot do that, how you gonna? How do How do you?
That's to me, I understand, like we've been saying, I understand the DEI aspect that is very important, but the energy could be put into fighting for equality in education so that if you have that in your hand, no matter what, you are still going to face discrimination. When you went to France, you face all that, but you continue to move, okay, and said, you know what, I have to do what I have to do. So the same thing with those African Americans, the black people during the time of Jim Crow, civil rights movement, that they still push and say, you know what, it will be difficult. And you said it before, even Obama becoming the president of the United States, America has moved. But then let's look at the side that is still continue to be diminishing. How can we talk about equality in education system? No matter what color you are, let's look at inequality in educational system, that everybody has to be exposed, have funding, extra curriculum activity, everything that is needed. And then we have to do with a lot of also social issues within family. Many of these challenging issues that goes on within the family. We talk about the crime. I remember, I'm going to sneak in one of your articles that you wrote. I think I just scanned a little bit, from top to the bottom, whereby, this guy, they were blaming the system, saying the system is the reason why we are where we are. Then later on, they talk about, they brought the conversation back to their community because this one has served 20 something years in prison. That one has served 30 years in prison. But then realize later on that we are the one responsible. We need to bring this conversation to our community. How can we have different programs to prevent crime, to prevent the younger generation from engaging in criminal activities? What kind of program can we have to engage our youth for them to know that they're worth it, their life is worth it, instead of putting that energy somewhere else that has not been working? Let's put it within our community.
I believe that's the answer. To be honest with you, I believe that's the answer. I believe the answer is in the community. I don't really believe in the idea of a national anything or federal anything, because in this country it will turn out, oh, we want to help black again, and it also is negative as well. It become like black people cannot do anything, they have to be helped out, they have to do something for them. I believe it's good for us, for the community, to decide to make ourselves the priority, to say that we have to work for ourselves. The same way, like we try to draw a parallel with Africa, is that many of the women I've known cross path with in Africa are like, they are breadwinners. They are the one who are gonna fight because they don't want this to happen. They will fight. Women in Africa are everything. They didn't expect anything for the government, which is kind of, you're gonna be surprised. And my mother wouldn't have anything for the government, that she will go out and sing praise, to the president. Which I'm like, oh my god, are you kidding me? It's the opposite of. I mean, my brothers and my sibling, we are like, are you just serious? She doesn't. She's like, this is why I'm like, there's nothing this man has ever done for his population. But she's like, yes, but I like him. But it doesn't prevent her to do everything she can to get her kids and the kid in the neighborhood, the kid of the neighbor, and trying to, if she sees them doing something, that she deemed inappropriate, she will say no. She will try to tell them what is right and what is wrong. I believe we have to go back to that sense of community, and saying in the black community that it's going to be about us. And as well, maybe forget about this thing about like civil rights and everything. And as you said, education first. How do we lift our community up? What do we do? Because anyway, if when every time we get something national, but it got taken away from us. Affirmative action or even DI, even though I believe we didn't take advantage of DI is white woman, but still, people are calling it almost like a black thing. Everything when we moved it got taken away from us. So why don't we build our community and trying to focus, like you say, in education where we all get involved and we trying to work on that. That's the way I would think. I believe it comes from us. We can take that from Africa, where look at how people are. If Africa was like here, I believe everyone would be dead because the government doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. I mean, name it. Okay, if few countries be even South Africa, I'm not sure. Even today, I don't believe any country in Africa does 20% for. I mean, the government does 20% for the population. I don't think so.
And I want to bring you, if you still have a few minutes, African immigrants and their children in America. Yes. African immigrants often find themselves in a complicated position. On one hand, they may be benefit from DEI initiative that aim at increase the representation and access to opportunity for marginalized community. On the other hand, they can also face discrimination and resentment from people of color who feels that immigrants, especially highly educated and highly skilled ones, are taking opportunity meant for historical disadvantaged Black Americans. What's your opinion on that?
My God, the debate between African American and African, it's always, yeah. It's a very complicated, a touchy issue. Every time I write, I have some people coming and telling me that I am not the right person to tell the story of African American. I don't know anything about African American. I don't respond. I really believe people are entitled to their opinion, but inside me, I'm like, the difference between what you're saying and what I'm going through is that every time people see me in this country, they see me as a black man. They don't see me as African or African American, meaning I receive the same treatment as you. I don't have a preferential treatment because I am African. I was not born here. But one. The second is the idea, yes, that we always think African American would tell us that we didn't go through what they went through. But my response that you didn't. Your grandparents, or maybe your parents, if you're old enough, you didn't. The same way I will never tell you that when your family went through colonization. I don't want to compare because people will try to tend to compare about who suffers most. I don't do that game. But my thing is that I didn't go through. I kind of go through because it's the kind of neo colonialism in Africa is still there. Mm-hmm. You didn't go. You were going through racism and prejudice, but you didn't go through slavery. Mm-hmm. So, almost telling me that you don't know why we went. Why did you go through? You personally, nothing except the racism, prejudice, and everything. But you didn't go through slavery. Not you. Grandparents, everyone up, maybe older, but not you. So that's the second one, and the third one that usually it's just. Yes, we have this scene that our ancestors sold their brothers and their sisters. I understand that. And I feel bad about that in some kind of guilt because we did. At the end of the day, we are all black people. We are all black people. How do we do this? How do we do this and everything? That's usually my question. And last but not least, is again the fact that in Africa, we were never told we were inferior to white people. You were not. I was not. In this country, it was people are told that, and you can see that. You can see clearly someone who was born in Africa, who was born or raised by African parents. You can see that because we were not told. We were always told that we were equal. And you can even see that with us and people from South Africa, because they have the apartheid for a while. Compared to us in the rest of Africa, we went through colonization, but then we pushed back. And that's important. That's something also I am mindful of because I'm like, okay, I understand what it's going to say. So, because we were not told that, so we believe in excellence. We believe that we have to work hard ourselves and that the onus is on us if we don't succeed because our government don't do anything. So, yes, they will say we take the job. But at the same time, I'm like, I go to school. when I'm going to school, I try my very best to do something. And then if I do it, I got accepted, I got a job. It's not my fault. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I will never apologize because I worked hard and I got accepted, I got something, and you didn't just because of history patterns. No, I will never apologize. And yes, it is true, it's there, something we all have to come to terms with, as Black people. I don't know how it will ever be, solved, because African American believe that we look down on them. We believe they're lazy and everything. And you will always hear that. I hear that all the time. And then their reaction is to tell us that we don't know what they went through, or we cannot tell about their suffering.
But to me, also, everything you said is part of what I've experienced myself. Depends on who is telling the story, how the story is being told, and how you want to perceive it, how you want to change it. Many African Americans won't hold older the Europeans who came in yesterday. That's why this guy from South Africa is running this country now, because he's white, Elon Musk. So you're not going to hold a white person who just came to this country yesterday and said they're taking advantage or they're taking opportunity that is meant for you, whereby this is a country of opportunity. It's a country where everybody come in and they have to do what they have to do. But it's to be able to understand that we need to pull together. Maybe we could learn from one another.
Yes, we should.
Because, and I told someone one time I was having a conversation, I said, there's always bias. Everybody possesses biases, no matter what, even within the same family. But when you act on your biases, then that's where the problem, whereby you're not going to employ this person because they are this, they are that. If you look at this New York City agency, the state, you have many Black people in the top positions there. It's not Africa who occupy those positions.
Yeah.
No. Okay. You have many Black people, African American descendants of slaves, who occupy a big position in different companies, different city, state, federal government, and they are not Africans. Only few people who are coming in are now the target, So that is also just taking a scapegoat towards people who are not supposed to be scapegoat in this dialogue.
That's very true.
But you cannot, because you're not going to stop somebody who comes from different Asian country and say, no, that opportunity is meant for me, you are taking it away from. Or any white person coming from different European countries and said they're taking the opportunity. So you didn't really do your own work. But in terms of, they say you would think they are lazy. There's many Nigerians that I think they are lazy.
My own family, my own city.
So if you say because of the perception, everybody have those, thing about because we're all human beings, but you cannot base things on what just once somebody said. So what? The same way an African American could look at an African immigrant and say they are uncivilized, they are this, they are that, and like you said, when you come from a family whereby you were being empowered and embraced from a very young age, the way you're going to carry yourself is different. Even somebody may say a lot of negative things to you, but you know who you are on the inside. It's not something that will actually control who you are, and you keep moving. That's why you were in France, maybe a few of you in classroom in the old school. It didn't disturb you from doing what you have to do, because you know why you went to, purpose you were there. They might call you monkey. How many people back home call you dog, monkey? You acting like a monkey. Because African people will say that the elders in the community, why are you acting like a monkey? They will
All the
call
time.
like that all the time. But that doesn't stop that child. So if I go to another country that I know the purpose of me being there is to focus on my dream. You could say me and the monkey sleep on the tree. Okay, we do together. That doesn't mean anything, because the purpose of me being here is to focus. So it's for people to know, how do you build a thick skin and not focus on what people say, but focus on who you are, what your goals are. And to the extent, someone like you, people might look at you and say, you know what, I really admire how you carry yourself. I wish I could have the same thing.
Yes, I agree. I believe that at the end of the day, Mrs. Siriki, is the fact that, I don't know, as Black, it looks like we were told it's all part of the whole playbook, like there has to be only one in the room. No, no, no. They shouldn't be just like so we have to fight for that seat. We all have to fight for that only. I'm like, no, that's bullshit. We have to be like, I'm good. I'm gonna try to get in there. I'm gonna try to do this or to do this, and you do it regardless if another black person has done it. It should even be good to see another black person there. It's like, oh my God, there's another. That means it's really gonna work. I'm gonna even work hard and I will get it. But the fact that we've been told that there is only one seat for us, I mean, I want to tell about so everyone is trying, oh, it's your fault. If I'm not there, it's your fault. But no, why shouldn't be only one seat? It should be 2 or 3 or 4 seats for us.
Have you ever come across people who say, sorry to cut you off, you just
No,
came
no,
to
no, that's good.
and said, oh, I have to work twice as harder. But no, do anybody call you to do that? Or is something somebody told you, you heard being said, and you think you have to do that, and you put unnecessary pressure on yourself in a work environment that nobody even said anything like that to you? Because there's a say that is being shared around that you need to prove yourself, twice better. And I know you might have some white friends who, because I really encourage people to diversify their friendship, their friends, circle. Maybe you could hear from their own experience whether they may even go through the same thing at the place where they work because of their position, and said, I need you to, do extra A, B, C, and D, even though they are white.
That's true. That's true. I also wanted to touch on, you sent me an article talking about MEI, basically meritocracy. My position with that story is, you see, it's the same old thing again. It's what we've been saying. DI has been, it's been weaponized against people of color. Whereas again, I keep repeating it, and I believe black people need to hear it. We didn't take advantage of DEI. DEI is white woman who took advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not black people. Many black people don't even know. They even discovered that name since Trump is president, because they tried with woke, it never worked. And now DI, because they put the racial component, is working in this country where racism is plays a big part. So now they're coming with, oh, the MEI. You see, for me, my response to that is that,
and MEI means merit, excellence, and intelligence.
which what does it mean? So there are many things. Either it mean black people we are not intelligent. I don't know what I had to respond to that. The other one is ignoring the context and reality. If someone in this country really believe the way black people of color are treated is not different from the way mostly white men are treated, then they really don't want to see, they don't want to see reality. Telling us, no one is saying you don't take into account meritocracy. No one is saying that. No one is saying just hire black people. They are making it like that, like, oh, DI is about hiring all black people. Again, I'll ask you the question about, could my mother, yes, let's say I control your podcast. Could my mother replace you? No, you need someone who has qualifications for that. Someone need those qualifications to do the job. Could everyone write what I write? I don't think so. People are different. And again, you see, it's kind of like pretending like what we are asking for, when we are asking for people who look like us to have an interview, like we are dismissing meritocracy. That's not true. And the last but not least, it only reminds me of one thing. If you do remember back during Black Lives Matters, people went out and say, "Oh, we have to say all life matters." You see, again, they decide to miss. They don't want to say something. Again, every life matters. Every single life matters.
Mm-hmm.
What we're just saying with Black Lives Matter is that the way people of color are treated, mostly black people, by institution, is different from the way white people of other people of color are treated by the same institution. So what we're trying to say is treat us the same. You cannot act, the police cannot just shoot a black person. The police, how many white people have been shot in this country by the police and dead, like for nothing? I dare them to come up with the data. They don't have that. The data don't, they don't prove it. So For me, saying MEI is like equate almost like all life matters. It's like we are dismissing, we don't dismiss meritocracy. That's bullshit. We agree, we all want meritocracy, but we are saying the context of this country is different. The context of the West is different. The context of what which is true is a country where dominated by white people. So what we asking is like we that's based on that. Let's try at least to make sure that other people, minority, can have access. So how do we do it? It's never about saying people who are this don't have this. And last but not least, white people are they? I'm sorry. When you hire someone, you can have a pool of 10 people. At the end of the day, the decision is made based on your affinity with someone. It's not based at the end of the day after you go through everything. The hiring manager will always find someone because I like that person better. I believe we're going to work well together. It's not about at that point. It's not about meritocracy anymore. So why do you want to ignore those kind of stuff? I mean, that's my answer to you for
for that, and which is very, very important, because like you said, even anywhere you even in Africa, is who you know. And the same thing with this country is who you know. You could go to a place and then, unless they, sometimes if they are really desperate, they're looking for qualification is very, but at least you'll be able to find somebody qualified for that position. Like you said, your mom cannot do what maybe I'm doing or you are doing. I may not be able to do what you are doing because I don't have the background. I wasn't prepared for that. So the whole conversation is how do we then, because this person who wrote this, Roland Fryer, is an African-American economics from Harvard. And he has been talking about inequality in educational system from the beginning. What he did his research actually in school in Harlem, whereby he said if you compare a student who got an A in the South Bronx or in Harlem, and you take that grade or the subject, the focus of that subject, the extensiveness of it, compared to another community of privilege is not equal.
No, definitely not.
So he said, how can we then bring that into here? It was him who said, if Harvard really want Black students to succeed, then start school from Black community from kindergarten, so that when they get to your school, they will be able to compete with their peers. He was talking about there's so many Black students that is being taken, they give them admission into an Ivy League school. And when they get there, many of them end up dropping out because they are now in the mix of students from different backgrounds, from who have taken, pre-college classes, whose level of, teaching that they receive is on a high standard compared to some of these students who didn't have those kind of challenges. And you put them in that environment. And within a semester or two, they drop out because they couldn't meet with the work. So their argument is that if these students are not being prepared from a very young age, inequality in education, how can they meet up with you actually setting them for failure if they end up dropping out of college? So, and it's the same thing with job, corporate world. In any job you go, they still have to train you.
They do.
With their new way of doing things. But how can somebody who were not exposed to that kind of education be able to function in that kind of work environment? So this is what Roland Fryer was saying, that all the people who are fighting for DEI, let's put that energy in the community. Let's put that energy in equality in education. Let's put that energy in so many things to the extent you'll be the jealous of the system in itself.
I agree with him. Again, I agree with him about the community and everything. For me, it's not about going to Ivy League or not Ivy League. For me, it's also about expectations. I believe in some way here in the Black community, we set the expectation very, very low for our kids. And my mother never said her expectation was too high. I thought they were too high. Again,
in Africa, when they tell you have to be a doctor.
Yes, that's what they tell you. They don't care. They don't even know what it takes to become a doctor. But they just say you have to. I believe there is a middle ground between that and not expecting anything from you. Believe it doesn't make, for example, we both live in New York. A kid who goes to school in the Bronx or in a very, marginalized community, no one expect that kid to be good. Am I wrong? You see, that's problematic. We have to say, regardless where you are, where you go to school, we expect you to perform well. And that will take away, if the kids start working the way they're supposed to be doing, they don't need to go to Harvard. They don't need to go to, I don't know, the Ivy League school of the world, because we expect them to perform well regardless where they go to school. The family have to set those expectations. For example, if we apply the same thing, we apply the same logic, we apply, in sport in this country. Look, some parents, what they do to get their kids to get to the NBA, to get to the NFL, to play Major League Baseball. They do every single thing. They are there. They push them. The mothers, sometimes it's about the mother doing it, taking them everywhere. That's how they succeed. Because of that commitment, because of the expectation of the parent, asking them to use their best quality. The parents expect that because they believe you're going to get more money. You're going to get this. Why can't we do that when it comes to school, to education? Me, you, I came from Africa. That was the minimum. My parents expected me to be on top, top of class. That was the expectation. There was not an excuse because we were poor. And it didn't come up to the, it was, this is what I want. And it was not this is what I expect from you.
Yeah.
It was that. Ever had my mother talk about, oh, we are poor. You're not going to be able to learn your lesson because we don't have electricity. There is no expectation for kids, for our community in this country. I believe that's something we have to change. We don't need someone to get us, crutches. We don't need Harvard to provide us crutches to go to Harvard. We just have to get, even if it's a community college. But if our kids fight and perform, they will be confronted to excellence because they're all fighting, they're all working hard. So they will find the same way you want to go to a historically Black college because they're fighting, they are competing. We have to do the same sport, everything.
Yeah, and you're so right about that, because not when I used to work with this youth and I asked them, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to play basketball. I said, okay, you want to play basketball. I said, when did all these basketball players wake up in the morning? I said, some of you may even play better than them. I said, but there's a commitment. They have to prove themselves. I said, can you wake up 7 o'clock in the morning? If you are not going to school, how can you be able to face any challenges of playing basketball? I said, so let's bring your dream closer to what is reality to your life. So, and all this is important when you were in Africa. If you, they say you carry first in your school, from the end of the street, the news already got to the area and they are all saying, oh my God, okay, you are forced, come and take 5 shillings.
Yes.
Come and take 1 penny. Everybody empowering you, embracing you, not only your parents. So it's a community. Of course, everything has its good side and the negative aspect as well. You understand what I'm saying? But, the community expectation is not only your parents, but also community expectation is also there.
Yes.
So that's what it is.
Fully agree. Nothing to add there.
I'm telling you. So I don't want to hold you because I could hold you here longer because, it's one of a topic that I'm really passionate about. And I really thank you so much, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Soriki. Thank you very much.
Pansa continue to normalize conversation about the importance of community engagement, about African immigrant experience in America. And as I always say, as we publicly continue to discuss difficult issues within our community, we're shredding away stigma associated with uncomfortable dialogue. Thank you so much, Mr. Luc Olinga, for coming to Pansa podcast to share your wealth of knowledge on exploring conversation on diversity, equity, and inclusion with me, and to our listener, your insight on this important and complex topic give a deep understanding of DEI and truly enriching this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mr. Soriki. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Panza Panza Live podcast. We hope to have you back with us in the next episode as we continue to explore the nuances of the African immigrant experience. If you'd like to connect with us, you can email us at talk@pansapansa.org. That is TALK@PANSAPANSA.org. And follow us on Instagram at pansa.pansaforum. Until next time, remember to spread kindness and love. Thank you and take care of yourself.